Sean O'Malley announced when he will fight Umar Nurmagomedov. The current UFC bantamweight champion, Sean O'Malley, is ready to share the octagon with Umar Nurmagomedov as soon as the undefeated Russian fighter proves that he lives up to the star status of his name. "People think I avoid tough fights," O'Malley told ESPN. "Umar is probably the toughest fight, but it has to make sense. So far, Umar is not a star at all. I believe that I am a superstar. I believe Cheeto is a star. I believe that Umar is a potential star, literally, because his last name is Nurmagomedov. I never watched his fights, only the highlights. He is very well trained, trains in a good gym. His last name is Nurmagomedov, and he is Russian. Thanks to all this, he has potential. The UFC can promote certain people with a name and skills, and he's from Khabib Nurmagomedov's gym. They train together and he's in his corner. O'Malley is Irish, so there's something there. If he can become a star, that's the fight I want. I don't want easy fights. I need big fights. And if I have two guys to choose from, one of whom is slightly better, I will choose him." Nurmagomedov and Mokaev rose in the UFC rankings. Undefeated UFC fighters Umar Nurmagomedov and Muhammad Mokaev, who won victories at the UFC Fight Night 238 tournament in Las Vegas last weekend, improved their positions in the official ranking of the organization. The Russian, competing in the bantamweight category, rose 3 places and closed the top 10 of the division, and the representative of Great Britain moved from 8th to 7th place in the flyweight ranking. The updated rating is published on the organization's official website. Conor McGregor announces next 2 UFC fights. Former UFC champion in 2 weight categories, Conor McGregor, is going to not only return to the octagon, but also have at least 2 fights before the end of the year. The Irishman announced this on a social network, answering a fan's question about whether he plans to complete the trilogy with Nate Diaz. "I want to fight Nate on Mexican Independence Day in the Orb. Chandler in June, Diaz in September. I made it known," McGregor replied. Thus, Conor McGregor plans to meet Michael Chandler on June 29th at UFC 303, and then complete the trilogy with Nate Diaz on September 14th at UFC 306 in Las Vegas. Let us remember that Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor met twice in the octagon. In March 2016, Diaz staged a huge upset, accepting the fight on short notice and finishing the Irishman by choke in the second round at UFC 196 in Las Vegas. And 5 months later, McGregor took revenge in a close fight, defeating the American by a majority of judges' votes. Khabib Nurmagomedov. My son asked if I could fight like Islam Makhachev. Former UFC lightweight champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov, responded to a question about whether he wants his son to follow in his footsteps and become a professional fighter. "My son is starting to ask me a lot of questions because when I retired, he was only 3 years old and he didn't understand anything," the Russian said at a meeting with fans in Toronto. "A couple of weeks ago, he asked me, 'Dad, can you fight like Islam Makhachev?' I was like, 'Why are you asking?' And he said, 'Because I've never seen you fight like him.' When I left, he was very young, but now he's starting to ask me everything, and so far I don't know what to do. Personally, I don't want him to become a professional athlete, but if he chooses that path, what can we do? I wish he was a normal person because professional athletes are not normal people. I lived this life and I know what I'm talking about." Dear friends, if you like our video, please like and comment for the development of the channel, and do not forget to subscribe.